Hello everyone, thank you for joining me. Reading so many of these experiences I'm starting to think the universe has really pulled a good one over us here. Like, most of us truly think we are these human bodies and this is the totality of our existence. When really, when researching religion, spirituality, near-death experiences, it's actually not true. It is the soul, the consciousness, the awareness underneath all that. You are in this physical realm. That is what you are in reality. This physical reality isn't the real reality. This planet Earth is just a journey, an adventure, a lesson, an experience. It's all those things, but it is not who you really are at your core, at your essence. It is just where you are right now, and this body you have is just the vehicle you use to navigate this physical plane. And that is good news, I think, because it would be disappointing, wouldn't it, to live this life as a person and then die, and then that would be it. It would be, I think, a bit of a letdown. But today, let's have a look at what someone else has to say about this other realm where we all come from and we all go back to. This one is from someone called Jean, and it is on the ndurf.org website, like most of the experiences I read are. And this is Jean's experience. I woke up lying in my hospital bed, but unable to breathe. Every joint in my body was in excruciating pain. I was panicky. I felt that if only my clothes wore off, maybe my skin could breathe for me. I knew I was in trouble. I couldn't find the button to call a nurse. I thought, I'm just a bother, and if they hid the buzzer for the nurse, they want me to die. My panic rose, and my thoughts were irrational. I had to talk myself down from this and apply some logic. I told myself, I'm in a hospital. They have put the call button somewhere and probably close. Stay calm and look. I found it at my upper right, wound around the bed rail. I remember such pain as I finally found the button and pushed it. The nurse answered and asked what I needed. I told her I felt panic and could not breathe. She came to my room and talked to me soothingly while she took my blood pressure. It was 0/30, and thus my long journey through near-death began. In the days that followed, my heart stopped beating 4 times, and my family was told I would most likely not make it. This time for me was blurry, and I had 2 near-death experiences, but do not know at which times they happened. The first time, I went through a light. It is the only way I can describe this. And I was totally saturated in unconditional love. It was the most wonderful experience I have ever had. Unconditional love saturated me, and it was so filling. I then went through a life review. It was all about my relationships with others in this review. During this, I felt what they felt in my relationship with them. I felt their love or their pain or their hurt by things I had done or said to them. Their hurt or pain made me cringe, and I found myself thinking, oh, I could have done better there. But most of what I felt was love. So it was not too bad. No one was judging me during this process. I felt no disapproval from anyone else, only my own reactions to it all. That feeling of unconditional love saturated me and continued to be there. I was judging myself, but no one else was judging me in this review. I was then asked if I wanted to come home or wanted to come back to Earth. I told them that my 2 sons needed me and I had to go back. I was suddenly in my body again, feeling my achy joints flaring in pain. I don't remember what was going on around me at that point. It just hurt. I felt that love, though, and could rest. My second near-death experience, I found myself in a city and was told this was the city of God. I was at a water fountain with a man in a long white linen robe tied around the waist with a cord. He told me I could ask any question I wanted and said he would take me on a tour. Because I had been raised at a time where Catholics said to even go into another Christian church was a mortal sin, I had a very pressing question. The first question I asked was religion right? What is the right religion? I was told they are all right. Each religion is a pathway trying to reach the same place. I was shown a mountain with each religious group trying to reach the top, separated from each other by distance, but each one was trying to get to the same place. I was told then that people chose to be born into whichever religion or group that will help them achieve the lessons they are sent here to learn on earth. I was told that earth was like a big school, a place where you can apply spiritual lessons learned and test yourself, under pressure to see if you can actually live what you already know you should do. Basically, the earth is a place to walk the walk and literally live the way it should be done. It was made clear to me that some people came to earth to work on only one aspect of themselves, while others came to work on several aspects. Then there are others still who come not only to work for their own nature, but also to help the world as a whole. The other side does not have the physical pressures that a body has. Here on earth, you must feed and clothe that body and provide shelter for it from the elements. You are under continual pressure of some sort to make decisions that have a spiritual base. You are taught on the other side what you are supposed to do, but can you live it under the pressures of being a human on earth? From what I saw and heard there on the other side, it is all about relationships and taking care of each other. Perfection is not expected of people, but learning is expected and considered good progress. All of our experiences in a lifetime tend to follow some sort of pattern, and often will recreate the same lessons only in a different way and under various circumstances. This is how you know what you are here to learn and test. If you examine the patterns, certain themes will become clear. I was shown a library filled with gold-covered books. These are the lives of people on earth where their life plan is laid out and what they hope to achieve through certain key experiences. From what I was shown, people have free choice as to how to get these preset key experiences. They can take a meandering path of experiences or a more direct route. But there are certain events that are preset and will happen no matter what. Each of those key events are benchmarks, and one's reactions to them will show how much you have learned and what more needs to be done or learnt. The economic turmoil we are now going through is one of those world events that was preset. People have a choice as to how to react to these events. From what I was shown, the spiritual way is to help each other and help those in need. This is the ultimate act of love. But there is also the choice of becoming more protective and self-centered, less sharing, and keeping one's own possessions as primary in one's reactions to what is there. There is a materialistic way of viewing it all, as if the material world is more than a connection between all of mankind. So what choices will the majority make? It is still to be seen. I was shown in 1981 that this time would come and that banks were paper empires built on paper and nothing more. But so are many other businesses, paper empires built to collapse under pressure. How do people react to all of this? This is the key event and will test many. Will they reach out and take care of each other? Or will they become more and more self-centered and protective of the material? There are always choices in this just to determine which choices individuals will make. I was shown other parts of the city as well where souls were working with people on earth, the scientists, the arts and more. There were always a push there to inspire those on earth to create beneficial things for mankind in every area. There was so much more too. But more than anything in this place was filled with love. Love of mankind, love of everyone on earth, and love of the earth itself. Communications were transparent there. Thoughts shared as in a conversation here. The people I saw were all working, happily so, and in great joy. I was also shown a much darker place where people did not seem to know they had moved out of their bodies and continually fought with each other for material things. Material possessions were their focus, and all the actions were self-based there. Above them also a legion of beings waited. Whenever someone looked up and asked God for help, they were whisked away to another place, a place more peaceful and tuned to God and God's love. But many seem lost in this place, never looking up and never asking for help. This city had many different places, all geared to a different need. There was a place of rest where souls could recover from traumatic lives on earth. There were working places where souls could help mankind and others grow and be more. There were libraries, theatres and schools, and there was also the temple of God. I was taken into this large hall, and before me were beings of pure light. One was sitting directly in front of me on a chair or throne. These beings did not have human shape, but were more like pure energy of light. I found myself prostrating before them in awe. The love that emanated from them, particularly the one in the center, was overwhelming. I definitely did not feel their equal, but did feel this great honor to be there. I was embraced by this entity in the center and told, "You have done well, my child, and I am pleased." The love that came flowing through me and the approval made me weep. Was this God? Was this the ultimate? I really didn't know. I just know that I was and am so much less than this being and those who were nearby. Yet the love was so wondrous to have. I found myself, upon returning, wanting to be worthy of that love. So what were the end results of my experiences? What did I take away from it? These days, I live my life in the moment, enthralled and appreciative of all the experiences. I love living this life. I try to always walk the walk, not just saying the right thing, but living it as much as possible. I do not fear death. I am not anxious to leave this life. But I still feel I have much to do. Death is not something I fear. I know I will someday go home, and that home is not here. To me now, I would say the most important thing on this planet and for my life is the ability to connect to other humans and create meaningful relationships where you love and care for each other. Religion has its place, and there is a pathway to more, but it is not the ultimate in any way. Religions are not God, in my opinion. They are just the way to find God. Emphasis should be on that golden rule. Love your neighbor as yourself. Take care of each other wherever you can. And that is the end of Jean's experience. This one happened a while ago, back in 1981. So quite a few interesting pieces in this experience. So let's go through it again and pick the good ones out and I'll give it a bit of commentary. So if you are one of those people who just like to hear the original experience read without my commentary, then I'll say goodbye to you now. For the rest of you, let's get into a bit of analysis. So Jean is in hospital. She says that every joint in her body is terribly painful. Doesn't go into any detail as to what is actually wrong with her. She feels, she's having difficulty breathing, and she knows she's in trouble. She obviously is feeling pretty close to crossing over. So she reaches around for the buzzer, the call bell, which all hospital beds have in an attempt to call the nurse. But she is in a bit of a panic state, a little bit delusional almost, it sounds like, and she sounds a little bit paranoid. She reaching around and can't find the buzzer, and then she begins to have these thoughts like they are trying to kill me, or they are thinking that it's, I'm not worth looking after. And she can't find the call bell, and these are what the thoughts that are going through her head, that somehow the nurses are intentionally hiding that bell from her because they don't think she should live, is basically what she's saying here. But she finally finds the buzzer, and the nurse comes and to her side, and Jean tells her what's wrong, that she's in a lot of pain and she can't breathe. And the nurse decides to take her blood pressure, and it is very low. I've done a lot of blood pressures in my short nursing experience, and I have never heard of one as 0/30 before. That is an extremely low reading, and she says as her blood pressure is getting taken is when she begins her first near-death experience. So she has two. This first one, they're both got some really interesting elements. So this first one, she goes straight to the light, totally saturated in this unconditional love, instantaneously, and then she begins a life review. Almost every week, I read an experience where the person having the experience has a life review. So if you're a regular listener, you would have heard my analysis on these before. And hers is not really out of the ordinary. It's quite common what she goes through. Her review is focused on her human relationships, and she gets to experience the relationships she's had with other people through the person she was having the relationship with rather than herself. So the shoe was on the other foot, so to speak. She's experiencing this relationship through the other person's being. So she feels the pain that she's caused, and she doesn't like this, obviously. She finds herself cringing at herself because, she's seeing this from a whole new perspective and truly understanding the impact our actions, our words have on other people. And this brings her to think, oh, look, I could have done better here. I should have done this. I should have done it that way. But for her, in this experience, as with just about everyone I've read, the only person that is judging the way she is conducting herself in this physical realm is herself. It's not God saying, do this, or you should have done that. It's purely Jean watching her experience from a spiritual perspective and analysing what could have been done better and what was done well. And this is what she repeats over and over again. She's just saying, no one was judging me. I was judging myself. There was no disapproval from anyone else. And for her, while watching this review, the overall feeling or experience she is feeling during this experience is she says she's getting saturated with unconditional love. So even though she's watching this experience and finding areas that could be improved, underlying all that is this feeling of peace and love, and she seems very happy to be there. She then gets asked, she doesn't say who asked her, just if she wanted to stay in this other realm or if she wanted to go back to planet Earth and join us all down here. She says the first thing that jumps into her mind after she's asked this question is her two sons and how they do need a mother. And next thing she knows, she's back in her body, feeling the pain of being in a physical shell that is in hospital and in a lot of pain, and she's she's back in this physical realm with all of us, but she has a little bit of an afterglow or after effect, and she can still feel a little bit of this love she was experiencing in the light. Now, at the start of this experience, she said she was drifting in and out of consciousness, and the heart stopped a few times. So I'm guessing when her heart stops is when she is drifting into this other realm. So that was the end of her first experience in the light. The second one is more of a visual type event. It's not just the light and a life review and an analysis of what was going on in the physical. The second experience, she gets transported to one of these landscapes or environments that is spectacularly beautiful. And this time she is with a guide type figure. This guide is in a long white robe, and he's got a waist, and he's got a cord tied around his waist. She doesn't say he's a guide or who she thinks she is. It's just stated that he is there, and he tells her that she is in this city, and this city is called the City of God. And this guide decides to tells her, you can ask any question you want. And I guess because she's in this City of God and she's in this realm that she doesn't really, I don't know if I would be asking this question first up. This is her question anyway. She says, what is the right religion? I guess there are times in my life where I would have been curious about asking this question myself, especially when I was younger and not as familiar with the topic of religion and spirituality as I am now. But yeah, you would kind of be curious if you hadn't delved too much into this topic as to what is the right religion, especially 40, 50 years ago, where there were a lot more rigid rules around certain religions and beliefs that if you were a certain type of Catholic, you would go to heaven over another type, or Christians had it all wrong and they'd be going to hell. So yeah, I guess you would want to know the answer to this question, what is the right religion, if you were worried about the outcome of your religion ending up going to hell. And it's a natural question, and I guess it just depends on the time you were born and what your cultural upbringing was as to what sort of question you would ask someone when you crossed over to this other side. And she's obviously a little bit scared that the religion she isn't following isn't the right one. So she asks her guide, what is the right religion? And the guide tells her all religions are right. All religions are a pathway to reaching the same place. And then she's showing this sort of vivid representation of an answer, and she's showing this mountain, and there's different groups walking up the mountain, each group representing a different religious group, and they're all symbolically trying to reach the top, and the top, I guess, is God, is Source, is the universe, is the truth, and yeah, that each religion is just trying to get to that same place. And then it goes into a little bit more detail here. The guide says that each person is born into whichever religion or cultural group that they choose. So this is another example of an experience that says we as souls get to choose where we're born, when we're born, what type of family we're born into, and of course which type of religious environment we are going to be exposed to. And this choice is made in an attempt for us to achieve and experience the lessons that we want to experience as a human. The guide says that Earth is like a big school, so you can apply spiritual lessons learned and test yourself under pressure, where you can actually live what you already know. So for me, that means that us as spiritual beings are very aware of what Earth-like is what being a human is like. And we come here to to experience life as a human and try to practice what we have learnt in this other realm back on Earth. But obviously Earth is a very challenging environment, and even with the best training and preparation, coming down to Earth is going to be different to what you imagined it was like up in this other realm, because this other realm is free from these pressures we face on a daily basis on Earth, and those pressures are going to force us to make mistakes, make decisions we probably thought we wouldn't have made up in this other realm. And this is why being a human is, I guess, a great experience for a soul to have. It puts you in places of darkness, in places of light, in places of joy, in places of hatred, grief, and some of these things that I'm listing here sound terrible from a human point of view, but I guess from the soul's point of view, it is an experience that is invaluable. So Jean says that the guide tells her that basically the Earth is a place to walk the walk and literally live the way it should be done. And she goes into, Jean's guide goes into a little bit of more detail here, which I love. I love these little details that I get to read out on these near-death experiences. And she says that, the guide says that some people come to Earth to only work on one aspect of themselves. So, while others come to work on several parts of themselves. And then there's those, again, still, who not only come down to Earth to work on certain parts of themselves, but also specifically to help others and to help the world as much as they can. And yeah, so that's interesting that some of us might be here just to try and improve one part of their being, and others are here to help others as well as themselves, and learn from that as much as they can as well. Then Jean starts talking a little bit here about the difficulties of practicing what we've learnt in this spiritual realm when we come back down to Earth. And obviously she says there's reasons why it's not easy to practice unconditional love, because we have pressures on our own physical body. We have to feed it, we have to clothe it, we have to provide it from shelter, and these put our bodies and minds under continuous pressure that kind of force us away from practicing this unconditional love, which this other realm seems to be made of. And these physical pressures are barriers to us conducting ourselves in ways that we would have liked to before we came down here. The pressures on Earth just force us to change our usual way of conducting ourselves. But she says this is all understood, and perfection is not really expected of people, but the way to look at it is use these challenges, use these pressures to grow, to evolve as a person, and to learn from. She says that all of our experiences tend to follow some sort of pattern, and these patterns are pretty obvious if you can stand back and analyze your own life and take a good look at what keeps reoccurring in your life. For me, the obvious one was addiction. I would go to substances to avoid the pressures of coping with life in general. But I broke that 3 or 4 years ago. So that was an obvious one, and I guess some of you might know or experience that as well. So I guess it's a common thing for people to want to escape from this physical realm and the pressures associated with it by indulging in substances that numb the effects of the darkness this earth realm can put in your way. So for me, I hopefully have learnt that lesson now and continue to be able to have a clear mind to analyse any other patterns that may need addressing. Jean's guide then takes her to a library which is filled with these gold-coloured books. And she says that these books are written by the lives of people on Earth, where their life plan is laid out. So it's written by the souls before they go to Earth, and it is what they want their life on Earth to be like, and what they hope to achieve, and what experiences they hope to encounter. So Jean's showing that everyone has a free choice how to get these preset experiences. So that's pretty incredible, that we can choose the key experiences we want to go through while we are on this earth, and we get to choose them, have our free will to pick which ones we want before we even come down here. She says that some of these experiences will be taken directly, while other events but there's other events that can be avoided, and while there's others still that will happen no matter what. And it's how we cope with these experiences that the soul finds to be the interesting area for investigation. So Jean then starts to talk about the current economic situation, and this was written in 1981, so it was obviously during a time of recession, and she says that all the souls who were alive then had chosen to experience this world event of an economic downturn, and her visions in this experience show her that the best way to get through these darker times on planet Earth is to reach out and connect and help those people who need it, as this is the ultimate act of love. The what she's shown is it's natural to become a little bit more self-centered and protective when darkness is around, and this she's shown that this is not the best way to cope with situations that are challenging. It's better to just help others, express unconditional love, and choose to connect and not withdraw, not isolate, just be there for other people. And this makes these experiences less difficult to endure. And then she's showing a little bit of information about the banking system and how it's all built on paper, and there's nothing really of substance to them. And I don't know, she doesn't actually say this, but I get the feeling that she's kind of implying one day it could all sort of collapse and fall in. And when that does, people will have to change their ways drastically. And she says in this next sentence that there's souls on Earth, or, near Earth, that are working with people as well. She says scientists are getting divine intervention, artists are getting divine intervention, and there is also always a push to, by the divine, by souls that love Earth, to inspire and get humans to be more creative in an effort to benefit all of mankind. She says there's just so much more she experienced, and it's impossible for her to relay exactly all that went on. But underlying all this, as we so often hear in these experiences, is she felt she was in this place that was just filled with love. So underlying everything she's seeing and being taught, there is this waves of love she's experiencing. She sees this love of the source for all of mankind, for everyone on everything on Earth, and even the Earth itself. She then digresses and talks about communication, and as it always is the case in this realm, it is done telepathically. She describes it as two people thinking to each other in the way that we will talk to each other using words. Over there, it's just one person will think something and the other person will think it back, and those shared thoughts are shared and connected and understood. But generally speaking, she thinks that everyone in this other realm is connecting well, they're happy, and they're in great joy. Jean then gets to see a more darker realm. So in this dimension, the people there don't realize that they're no longer in their human form, and seems like a bit of a hellish place the way she's describing it. They're constantly fighting each other. It's a little bit confusing because she says they're fighting each other over material possessions, so it's hard to kind of grasp how this other realm has, it sounds like, physical material possessions in them, and these beings are somehow fighting each other for possession of these items. She says that these souls seem to be very selfish, that all their actions are self-based, and they prioritize their own well-being above others. And she says above this realm, there's another realm of beings just sitting there and watching these beings. And it sounds like these beings watching this other realm are more angelic, and they're just waiting for the opportunity to help these souls who seem to be in a dark place, or in this transition between the physical and the spiritual realm, and they're not quite sure what's going on, where they are. And she says that all these beings have to do is ask God for help, and then they will be whisked away to another place that is more peaceful and more full of God's love. But she says that these beings in this realm seem to be so lost, and they aren't aware that there's these other beings trying to help them, and the thought of even asking for help is not one that even pops into their head. So a nice little description there of a hellish type realm. It's scary, from my point of view, to think that there are places like this, but every time I come across one, it has a similar theme, and it's this disconnection from source, and sometimes you'll read an experience where they are aware that there's a God and a source, and they just don't want to connect with that. Sometimes, like in this experience, they're not really even aware where they are, and it is a little bit distressing to read something like that, and to think that there could be souls experiencing a similar place like that as I speak. I guess the only comfort I can take away from reading that is to know that all they have to do to get out of there is ask for some assistance. And I guess the other thing we can take out of that is, if any of us ever find ourselves in a situation similar, that hopefully some part of us remembers that this isn't where we're meant to be. We're meant to be in God's love, and we can always go to that place. And I guess that applies to us even in this physical realm as well. For me personally, I was totally disconnected from God's love, or even a belief that there was a God or something more than this physical realm, whereas now it's pretty clear to me that this is the truth. And whilst I was in that state of atheism, and I got into all sorts of trouble, including pretty heavy addiction, and that manifested in the end in some connection with some pretty negative beings of non-physical nature. And so I can relate to what this little paragraph says just from my little experience in this physical realm. And luckily enough for me, God, angels, universe, source came to help me when I did need it. I don't ever remember calling out to God for help, or maybe I did, or maybe someone said a prayer for me, or who knows how this rescue operation started in my own life. But now I feel very connected and reminded on a regular day of God's love for me. And if God can love me, then certainly can love all of you too. So I just pray that all of you can connect to the source and understand what I'm talking about here. And hopefully you are already in that place. If not, well, near-death experiences are a great place to start. So Jean has had this incredible 2 experiences here. Like you can't ask for much more than this. She gets this experience of being in the light, in the love, and then she comes back to earth, and then later on in her same hospital stay, she gets this other near-death experience where she gets to connect with a spiritual guide who answers her questions, who shows her, gives her some wisdom in terms of how to live their life, shows her some of these other realms within the universe, including a more darkish one, shows her how things on earth operate, and how the interactions between the divine and physical take place. So pretty amazing little experience Jean's got here. So she says, and then it continues though, she says that after seeing this darker realm, she's taken to this other place where once these souls who have been in this hellish type place do ask for help, they're taken to this dimension where they're able to rest, recover, get some therapy, get assistance to recover, and make the transition to a more loving dimension. And then she's taken to this other place in this city of God where there's pure beings of light. And she says that one of them was sitting directly in front of her on a chair, or a throne. And these beings, they're not human form, but they're just like pure shimmering energies of light and without any particular shape. But she can just sense that they're some sort of angelic or powerful light beings. And she is just dumbstruck when she walks into this hall and sees them. It's just a feeling of awe that she is in these beings' presence, and there's one being in particular that she is even drawn to even more so, and she feels very inferior. She feels as though she is not their equal, and these beings are tremendously powerful, but they're good beings. And one of them speaks and says, "You have done well, my child. I am pleased." And she feels this love emanating from the being as this being says this, and feels like crying. It's such a powerful emotion to be in the presence of these other beings, and to hear one compliment her is enough to make her want to weep. So she starts to think who this being could possibly be, and the first thing that pops into her mind is, well, this must be God, but she's not too sure. Why would God want to have a personal relationship from me? And she thinks, well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Whoever it is, it's a tremendously loving being that obviously cares a lot for me and wants me to succeed in this life. So it doesn't talk about how she comes back to her body this next time after this experience. This second experience ends, but she kind of ends here by talking about how she reflects and what she's learnt from these near-death experiences. And for her, it's all about living in the present. It's all about appreciating the present moment, just trying to be in awe and appreciative of all experiences that come her way, whether they hurt or whether they feel good. She just has a little bit of wisdom now in terms of accepting whatever comes her way, and just tries to love life all the time, no matter what is occurring. She tries to also walk the walk now, not just talk about doing the right thing or the good things, but actually living them and practicing them as much as possible. She has no fear of death anymore. She realizes that she's come back to live and partly to retell this story and be a mother to her children, but this experience has totally removed anything like fear of her death, because she knows that this earth life is not her real home. It's just an experience, and then when this body expires, she gets to go back to the place that we all came from, and she calls that home. She says that her experience has taught her that the most important thing on life in this life for her is human relationships. It's taking care of each other. And this is what I often read as well, that it's not about how much you make or how powerful you are or what job you have. It's the thing that valued the most when you go back to this other realm and have your review and reflect on the life you lived, and is the amount of love you're able to produce in this realm. It seems to be a very important part of this human experience, from the soul's point of view, and I guess from the human point of view as well, is giving that unconditional love out and just caring and supporting and protecting one another, and just being there for each other, and whatever love means to you, I guess, just practicing that over and over again, and getting better at it, and making it your go-to place to be is away from your own selfish needs and towards making others' lives that little bit easier, regardless of what society may say about that. Because as I just said that, I thought, people will go out of their way to help others or be nice, and our society might call that people pleasing, and that has negative connotations to it. But if what these experiences tell us, people pleasing is actually a good thing to be. So it depends on your perspective and how you, whatever you value in your own experience. Do you value that taking care of others above your own interests, I guess, is the end result or the moral of that story. So she says that religions she's kind of had a bit of a lesson on how religions work, and she repeats, I guess, what she said a little bit earlier, that they're just a pathway to the ultimate, and they're whatever route you take to find God, it doesn't matter, or it's not going to affect your outcome in terms of your afterlife destination. It's just about religion. We all might, all of us have had exposure to one religion or another, and it's just a pathway to reaching the same place. I guess that doesn't matter if you're a Muslim or Buddhist or Christian or Catholic. It's all leading to that place of God. And as we know that God is a difficult thing to explain and put human words on to describe. So religions do their best to get us to this place that is indescribable, is another way of looking at that. But she says her golden rule now, Jean's golden rule in life, is to love your neighbour as yourself and to take care of each other whenever you can. So on that note, let's wrap it up. Thank you for listening. I love you all unconditionally, and I look forward to talking to you again next week. Have a good week. Goodbye.